Good morning and welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us for this webinar that will be addressing the challenges of tomorrow's set-top box. The session is co-organized by Vewd and Dataxis. So moving to the next slide. My name is Sa Eva Nébié. I coordinate the research at Dataxis. We're a company specialized in market research on TV, telecoms, OTT, and generally speaking, media markets. We also organize conferences that have now been fully moved to digital. The upcoming one is taking place tomorrow and will be dedicated to Brazil. All the information is on our website. I'm with Marco Frattolin, head of operator products at Vewd. Hi, Marco. And before letting Marco take the hand, I will start with the presentation of a short market overview to provide some elements of context using Dataxis' research and datasets. Then I will let Marco dive deeper into the specific issues shaping the set-top box market. And we will finish with a short Q&A session. So if you have any questions during the presentation, you can type them down. You should see a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, so don't hesitate to use it. Now, if we look at the market analysis, the first observation that we can make highlights the importance of set-top boxes around the world. They have been the gateway to access audiovisual content for years, whether it was premium pay content accessed through satellite, cable or IPTV, or free-to-air content accessed through satellite. And with the rise of OTT linear packages distributed only through internet and competing directly with traditional pay TV offers, like for instance, Sling TV in the US or Now TV in Europe, or to take examples in Asia, like My TV Super in Hong Kong or Wave in South Korea. So with these offers, we can understand that operators can be tempted to free themselves from the hardware constraints and to provide a service that would be available anywhere, no matter the device. But in fact, we observed that it's not necessarily the case. Many operators chose to keep a set-top box even with a full OTT distribution. And this is the observation that we can make. And I will let Marco give us more explanations on the reasons that can underlie this trend later on in the presentation. And just a few words about the regions, the differences by regions. So we see that the penetration is high in North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific, and lower in Latin America. And this discrepancy comes from the weight of households that are receiving only free channels through terrestrial television in Latin America. They represent more than half of the total TV households. And in the other regions, we can mention that the unencrypted cable reception that had constituted an important part of TV reception in some European countries, also in some Asian countries, like India, for instance, this technology didn't require a set-top box. But this has evolved, and now this type of reception is losing popularity. In Africa, the migration to DTT implies in many cases the use of set-top boxes, even if it's to watch only free channels on terrestrial networks. Now, if we move to the next slide, we saw that set-top boxes reached significant levels of penetration, and they represent a high level of a high share of TV households in 2020. But if we look at the past growth and the overall trend, we see that the penetration seems to have reached a plateau. The install base is expected to grow along with the increase in total TV households, but the penetration will stand at around 74–75% in the next 5 years. And this is, of course, linked to the expected evolution of the pay TV market and the challenges that are raised by nonlinear OTT consumption in the most advanced regions. And in these forecasts, the cable and satellite DTH accesses are expected to decrease, while the IPTV and OTT pay TV should grow substantially. Now, if we look at the set-top box, the advanced set-top box market, two actors have been standing out in the past years. So we have Android TV, the middleware solution developed by Google for TV sets, media players, and set-top boxes, and RDK, the portable software solution that had initially been developed by Comcast. So we see here that the number of operators choosing either one of the two options for their advanced set-top box has increased radically in America and in Europe in the recent years. And in 2019, Google announced that they had implemented over 140 deals with pay TV operators worldwide. So here we see a few examples of operators that chose the solutions. And an important differences is to note between the two actors. For RDK, the deals are implemented with large actors that have high number of subscribers. And we have here a few examples like Cox, Novo, or Megacable. And on the other hand, Android TV constitutes a very efficient solution for small actors in Europe, for instance. So it means that the actor will have deals with a lot of small operators. And the consequences of this is that the installed bases of each solution are similar, even though Android TV is deployed on more operators' set-top boxes. And finally, if we look at smart TVs, that's another meaningful trend that we observed. It's the importance that smart TVs have taken over time. Today, the installed base reached around 800 million, and this represents a penetration of around 42% worldwide. And we can see that smart TVs have functionalities that can resemble those offered by set-top boxes, like the provision to an access to libraries of content through the applications, the possibility to navigate and access the content discovery tools directly implemented on the TVs to help users find the right content for them. So smart TVs could be offering services that are similar to pay TV operators. And in this context, what can we expect in tomorrow's set-top box? So on this topic, I will let Marco take the hand to explain more precisely the issues at stake and understand the challenges of the future TV device. So let's start with an introduction of the services deployed by Vewd. Over to you, Marco.
Yeah, thank you, Sa Eva, and good morning, everyone. So before getting into the main topic of this presentation, let me give you a short introduction about Vewd in case someone in the audience is not familiar with us. In Vewd, we have been in the TV software business for about 17 years, and our mission has always been to enable our customers to offer OTT content and services on their TV devices. We have a number of different products. I'm going to mention a few of them later on in this presentation, but this slide shows you in what consumer products you can find our technology. Not surprisingly, we are present in all kinds of smart TVs and set-top boxes, especially pay TV set-top boxes. And we are also present in entertainment systems for automotive. In terms of key facts and numbers, we are a global company with more than 200 employees worldwide. The development and engineering is mostly based in Europe, but we have offices in all major regions of the world to give closer support to our customers for their projects and deployments. You can see some of our customers here in this slide. Overall, every year, our customers ship around 40 million devices with our software on them. And this has built a deployment base in total of 300 million devices in the field, which run Vewd software. And a significant part of those devices are pay TV set-top boxes. So let's get into the main topic of the day. What will be the characteristics of tomorrow's set-top box and how can it remain the main device used by operators? Well, in order to answer that question, let's spend a minute looking back and trying to understand why we have set-top boxes in the first place. And I think I can explain that around the concept of protection. So the operators are using the set-top boxes to protect key strategic assets for them. The first, of course, is the infrastructure. From a technical perspective, the set-top box is the last link in the transmission chain, and it's important for the operators that this link enters into end users' homes, and it's the last managed endpoint that then gets connected to unmanaged TV devices or other devices provided by the end user. Then the set-top box protects the content, implementing hardware and software security mechanisms. The set-top box also protects the experience of the end user. It is the main, and in some cases only, customer touchpoint. It keeps the operator brand front and central, and it's important to guarantee quality of service and quality of experience for a pay TV operator. And finally, from an operator perspective, the set-top box protects the subscriber, meaning that set-top box is the physical presence of operator in the home, which means that it deepens the relationship with the customer, it increases the stickiness, and it is an excellent platform to upsell and build additional services and create more revenue streams. And the set-top box has served these purposes very well, but in recent times, certain trends have emerged that are challenging its position as the main operator's device. And there are two external trends, I would say, or two external threats, which is the increased proportion of video delivered over IP and the rise of OTT apps and services available directly to consumer. And these two trends together means that the operators have alternatives to deliver video services to the end users, which means that they can use other devices instead of the set-top box. And the end users themselves have alternatives to get video content. And so they can get content directly from OTT content providers. And then there are three trends which are more internal to the set-top box industry, which is that, as we have seen in the market analysis, in some regions of the world, the set-top box market is reaching a plateau and it's becoming a replacement business, which means increased competition and fewer investments. And in combination with that, there is a consolidation from a number of proprietary systems that used to drive set-top boxes towards a smaller number of open standardized platforms, mainly RDK and Android. Now, this has some advantages in terms of availability of integrated features and reusable components, but it also poses some challenges because it leads to software commoditization, where it is increasingly difficult for a set-top box vendor to differentiate. And also, this consolidation of software platforms basically leads to, leads to the need of supporting multiple operating systems, both for operators and set-top box vendors. Because on one side, each operator is making a choice for the technology platform for the future. But at the same time, almost all operators, they have to deal with their legacy boxes. And it happens more and more often that operators go through mergers and acquisitions. And then at the end of this process, they end up with a very fragmented installed base where there are not only legacy boxes, but there are also modern new boxes based on different platforms. So on the operator side, they have to deal with multiple operating systems and multiple platforms. And the same can be said for set-top box vendors. If they want to have a complete product portfolio, they have to create a range of hardware options, and then these hardware options have to support both Linux, RDK, and Android. So on one side, these open platforms are reducing some engineering efforts, but on the other side, they are increasing the need to support multiple operating systems. And then upgradability is also a requirement. It has always been there, but it is becoming more and more important in recent times. because there is a constant flow of new features and new functionality that operators need to add to their boxes to keep them up to date. But on the other side, the hardware capabilities of deployed boxes are fixed, and this challenge can become a competitive disadvantage for operators compared with OTT services that are purely relying on software. So how can the set-top box how can set-top box vendors and operators face these challenges and ensure that the set-top box is still successful in the future? That's a tough question, but I think we can identify a couple of principles that can guide us to build tomorrow's set-top box. And I think these principles are at the intersection of operators, technical and business requirements, and consumer expectations. And the set-top box needs to address both aspects. On the operator side, the set-top box must be native of both worlds, hybrid and OTT. And you can see a few solutions that are coming mainly from one side and are also trying to address features and aspects of the other side. And this has some problems, because for the set-top box to remain the main viewing device, it really needs to be a first-class citizen of both worlds. It has to support fully hybrid and broadcast technology, and also has to support fully OTT apps and services. Then another important requirement is that set-top box must be flexible and modular, and this is mainly applicable to the software. It means that it has to be based on reusable software components, and this goes a long way in keeping cost efficiency, especially for development and maintenance. But it's also important for operators to be able to move across different platforms. And then, of course, it must be upgradable and future-proof, meaning that once it is deployed, its life cycle is still very, very long. So there needs to be a way to continuously add new features and continuously refresh the experience and the functionality. On the consumer side, for consumers to still keep using the set-top box as the main gateway to premium content, the set-top box needs to provide the best experience for the first screen. And the first screen is very different from all the other screens in our lives. It is a shared experience, it is lean back, it is relaxed, it is the main viewing point in the household. So the set-top box needs to address all those aspects and make sure that it can provide the best experience on that first screen. At the same time, it needs to be the easiest way to access content in a seamless way. And this is the consumer aspect of the technical requirement that I was mentioning before. So if it is implemented correctly, and if the set-top box can fully support both hybrid, broadcast, and OTT, then it can be the easiest way for consumers to find the content they want to watch. And this content has to be exposed and made available based on the relevance and on the viewing model, not based on the transmission method. This is also a key technical requirement for the operators. Of course, we know that an end user doesn't really care if a linear channel comes from satellite or IPTV or OTT, as long as it is the right linear channel that he or she wants to watch. And then the set-top box also has to embrace the latest innovative features like voice control and integration with our connected digital lives in terms of smart home and possibility to integrate and be controlled from other screens, and so on. But all these innovative features must be kept easy to use and familiar, because again, the set-top box is connected to the first screen, so it's very different from mobile or desktop. And how can a set-top box vendor and an operator achieve these goals to ensure the future of tomorrow's set-top box? Well, we at Vewd have some products that we have been building over the years that we think can help achieving these goals. The first is Vewd Core. This is our most famous product. It's an HTML5 rendering engine SDK. It's the most widely deployed SDK of its kind. And it is the foundation of an excellent TV experience. It is based on Chromium Blink, and our team of experts stay on top of Chromium open source development and basically package it and optimize it for embedded usage. And Vewd Core provides all this powerful functionality coming from Chromium in a stable and simple SDK, which is like ready to use on embedded devices. We have been doing this for a number of years, so this technology is robust and field proven. But of course, there is more to that, because we are enhancing Vewd Core and we are adding external additional modules to really bring both worlds into it. So we have a hybrid TV module that comes in different configurations to cover different broadcast standards depending on the target market. So with the hybrid TV module integrated in Core, we offer support for DVB, HBBTV, hybrid cast, and ATSC3. And this enables broadcast and hybrid functionality to be available on the platform. On the other side, Vewd Core includes a built-in media player, which has support for all the streaming protocols and DRM. And then the combination of these modules integrated inside Core basically creates the perfect platform for an operator to build a service and an application on top of it and access seamlessly the broadcast hybrid side and the OTT side. And on top of Core, and Core has been available and ported over the years on a number of different silicon and operating systems. So now we can offer the same features and the same APIs on all major silicon platforms. And we can package Vewd Core as a software component that can be seamlessly integrated in Linux, RDK, Android open source, and Android TV. And of course, every platform has some special characteristics that need to be addressed. But at the same time, we want to make sure that once Vewd Core is integrated and running on a platform, it offers the same level of features and capability. So both set-top box vendors and operators can keep one coherent development workflow, and if necessary, that can move from one platform to the other. And especially working with the smart TVs, but also with pay TV operators over the years, we have built a large network of content partners. So on top of Core, hundreds of applications have been built and are certified. And this leads to another product that we believe can help creating tomorrow's set-top box, which is Vewd Content Catalog. We have a number of OTT apps that are pre-integrated and pre-certified. So as soon as you have Core up and running on a device, all these apps are instantly available. And of course, in this slide, you see the apps that are part of our content catalog, which means that we have redistribution rights for these apps, and we can be your one-stop shop to enable all this content. On top of this, we have other top-tier OTT apps that we can also enable from a technical perspective on top of Core. of course, we don't have redistribution rights for them. Another product that we believe can be really helpful to improve set-top boxes is Vewd Atom. It's a cloud browser, which means that we have taken our Chromium-based browser engine and we have moved it on the server side. So we have the latest version of Chromium running in the cloud, and then it is coupled with a thin client running on the device. So the HTML content is processed and rendered in the cloud, encoded, streamed to the client, and rendered on the device. And the combination of these two elements allows HTML experiences on any hardware. Now, this is interesting for a couple of different reasons. Number one, it enables to run HTML content on legacy or entry-level devices. But I think what is even more interesting is that this Chromium browser running on the server side, it ensures a stable and powerful development platform for UI and content, and it really reduces development and maintenance costs compared to optimize and developing content on each and test it on each and every device. And this is an excellent way to continuously provide new functionality and updates to the boxes without any impact on hardware. So especially when it comes to continuously adding new features and new sophisticated interactive features to existing boxes in the field, Vewd Atom can really help. I can give you a couple of examples of that. For instance, Vewd Atom has been used to display visually rich feedback of voice assistants and voice control systems on existing boxes. And cloud browsers can also be used to implement sophisticated and complex interactive features like e-commerce portals, for instance, which can be developed once and then deployed easily on all the boxes. Another product that we have is Vewd Device Management. So all our client software includes or can include the thin client to connect with our cloud. And then we can use our cloud and server-side solutions to ensure that all the devices are correctly registered, provisioned, and kept up to date. This is important for a managed device like a set-top box used by operators to make sure that all the devices are under control and with up-to-date software packages at all times. And last but not least, our user experience product is called Vewd OpEx. So it's a complete TV UX for implementing an operator experience on a TV device. And operator experience means that the operator has to fulfill all the content needs of the end user, from content discovery to choice to consumption. And it has to happen in a controlled and managed environment. So on top of Core, you can run one or more of our UX modules. Flexibility here is key. So we have created Vewd OpEx in a way where each UX module is independent and can be used standalone to add or enrich set-top box functionality even on an existing UI, or you can take all of them to create a complete experience. So for instance, you can add an advanced OTT-enabled grid guide, or you can add an OTT content discovery portal, or you can use our live TV module to offer advanced broadcast functionality. And the fact that Vewd OpEx is written in HTML and it runs on Vewd Core, it means that the same experience can be available on all the set-top boxes and on different platforms. So this can be packaged as an Android custom launcher, can be packaged as a UI for an RDK or a Linux set-top box. And it's completely controlled from cloud, meaning that all the elements that are displayed on the screen can be configured and updated via cloud. This is important, especially for the marketing workflow of the operator. And we enable operators to do that without coding. So we decouple the engineering and operations workflow from the pure marketing workflow. And the marketing people at the operator can use cloud to keep the UI updated and refresh the content offering and decide how to blend together broadcast content and OTT content. And at the end of the presentation, I want to mention set-top boxes and smart TVs. So as Sa Eva has said in the beginning, smart TVs are increasingly present in end users' home, and sometimes they can be seen as a gateway for competing services, so that end users can access pay TV on through the set-top box on the TV, or can access other OTT services. But it doesn't have to be like that, as operators can actually take advantage of smart TVs. So instead of using a set-top box to control the smart TV, they can get inside the TV directly. There are some key aspects to consider by doing that, some key differences. Of course, if you look at smart TVs, the business model and the logistic is quite different, and there are for this reason there are different ways to manage the customizations that the operators need to access low-level functionality and to take over the user experience. But of course, this can be done. There are technical solutions to do this, and the smart TV makers are increasingly open to cloud configurability and software update. So the smart TV can become an operator device. There are fundamentally two options to do that. One option is to have an operator TV product where the TV is actually customized for the operator. And the other approach is to implement a virtual set-top box that is installed on the TV after the TV is sold. And basically both approaches have pros and cons, but both allows the operator to get full control on the first screen, keeping a high level of content security, and also keeping the device connected, updatable, and managed. And this connectivity and cloud control allows the TV to basically transform from a retail TV into an operator controlled device. And if this is done, of course, this opens up great opportunities for the operator. First of all, it is a complement to the set-top box. We don't think that smart TVs can replace set-top boxes completely anytime soon, but operators must have a complete portfolio of devices to address their users, and smart TV should be added to that portfolio as a complement to the set-top box to give some specific competitive advantages. An operator TV will ensure a seamless and easiest customer onboarding, will ensure that customers can do impulse buys and impulse subscription of pay TV services. And the TV can also help extending the reach of the operator and reducing churn, especially for segments of customers like cord cutters or cord nevers. And then, of course, working with the smart TV enables a range of co-marketing and bundling opportunities between operators, TV manufacturers, and retailers. So the TV is not a replacement for the set-top box, but operators should really use that as a complement. And if you want to know more how Vewd can help doing that, feel free to reach out to us. we are in a very interesting position, which is also quite unique, because we work on one side with the pay TV industry, set-top box vendors and operators, and on the other side with the smart TV manufacturers. So we are in a very good position to help bridging those two worlds. And that was the last slide in my presentation. So I thank you for your attention, and I think we have time for some questions now.
Yes, so thanks, Marco, for the very insightful presentation. Yes, let's move to the Q&A now. So I remind everyone that you can type your questions on the box on the bottom of your screen, so don't hesitate if you have any. And there are already a few. So let's start. One person is asking, can you share a good case study of an operator who has used smart TVs for TV services, and how did they go about it?
Yeah, sure. There are a couple of cases actually, now mainly in Europe. So you have cases like HD Plus, M7. There is an OTT operator in France called Molotov, and they have all used, they have all worked together with the smart TV vendors to ensure that their pay TV service could work natively on a TV. And now there are also some news and rumors in the industry about bigger operators in US considering doing the same, even if that didn't happen yet. And I think so far these cases are based on a standard called HbbTV OPAP, which is one of the possible options to achieve this. But of course, it's not the only option.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There's a question for me. In your Android TV RDK slide, you foresee no more deals for RDK in 2020. Do you see no future for RDK? So I should have mentioned it in the slide. The study ended at Q2 2020, so it's only for the beginning of the year. And actually, no, we think RDK has future, and it's addressed to operators that don't have the same profile as Android, that might want more control over the services that they deploy. So it's a different type of solution addressed to different players, and the chart was only for the beginning of the year. There's another question. Someone is asking, what is your view on operators leveraging streaming devices instead of set-top boxes?
Yeah, sure. Well, of course, there is a role for a streaming device here. I assume the attendee means like HDMI dongles or OTT only devices. So especially for OTT operators or IPTV operators, IP is all they need to deliver their services. So a streaming device is not that different from a set-top box after all. If instead you mean the like retail streaming devices like Apple TV or media players, then this has some advantages, meaning that typically the end users will purchase the device, but then the operator doesn't have full control on them. So some low-level functionality is not available. Some parts of the UI cannot be taken over. And in some cases, these devices can also enable competing services. So I think there is some space for the operators to use streaming like devices, and many of them do, of course, but it's not a complete replacement for a fully managed and controlled set-top box.
Mm-hmm. Okay, moving to the next question. In your opinion, which operator is the best-in-class example of set-top box experience?
Okay, that's a tough question to answer, because then all the other operators might get offended. You know, I don't think I
Or
can.
what are the most important features of this
Yes, yes, yes.
operator? And yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yes, 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 of course. So I think the best cases of operator set-top boxes that I have seen are the ones where the operator has focused on creating an excellent and simple first screen experience, taking advantage of all the technical features of the set-top box, meaning support for broadcast, support for OTT apps and content, and then bringing all these features together in a very simple experience so that all the technical complexity of the system doesn't really emerge to the end to the end user. And I think there are many examples actually. I think all the uh, bigger incumbents are doing a very good job at that.
Mhm. Okay, so there are still a few questions. Do you see a role for HbbTV in the operator market? For example, op app or for supporting broadcaster services?
Yeah, okay. So HbbTV itself is a standard mainly driven by broadcasters. So HbbTV itself, I think it becomes relevant for pay TV operators where they have to support broadcasters apps like catch-up content or on-demand libraries. So in some markets, end users expect access to these libraries because they are very popular. And then the easiest way for the operator to offer this access is to support the HbbTV app or the app coming from the broadcaster, and of course included in the UI and in the user experience. HbbTV itself is not probably super relevant for operators for normal apps. But then we have the HbbTV operator applications, which is a different story. These are special applications that have additional features and more privileges than normal apps. So HbbTV op-apps are one option for operators to get control on the TV set. So if you want to deliver pay TV services directly on the TV set, then op-app is absolutely an option. So in this case, and especially if pay TV services are based on broadcast, then it becomes a very good option.
Okay, I see two questions on smart home services. So do you see tomorrow's set-top box becoming part of smart home solution experience? And how can the set-top boxes be the anchor for smart home services?
Sure. Well, I think that's a very interesting question. I think the set-top box should definitely be connected to a bigger smart home ecosystem. The set-top box cannot be a standalone device, basically disconnected from the rest of the digital home. That will not work. So the set-top box needs to be a good citizen in the smart home digital environment. That's for sure. Then I'm not so sure it can be the anchor or the central hub for such an environment. There are a couple of technical and user experience like challenges with that. But it can definitely be a very important part of the ecosystem, and especially to be used as a simple way to access smart home data and to support smart home use cases. So I think in the context of a bigger smart home solution, there are many ways to take advantage of the TV screen or take advantage of voice-enabled set-top boxes to basically join that it could also, the box could also be the main hub for the smart home. But as I said, I'm personally a little bit more skeptical of that approach.
Okay, I see. So maybe one last question before closing the session. How does OpEx manage search and discovery?
Well, I mean, we can go into more details about the specific product. So I definitely encourage this attendee to get in touch with me basically separately. But in a few words, Vewd OpEx does support, of course, content discovery and the unified search. And a key feature is that we can merge together searching IP and OTT content, which is managed mainly from the cloud, of course. So we have a search engine that can explore a content library of the operator and the OTT content enabled on the same box. But then locally on the box, we can also take advantage of content coming from hybrid or broadcast, so that with one in the same search and in the same content the discovery process, we can put together content coming from the TV channel lineup or the EPG with the OTT content coming from IP. And this leads to this innovative but still familiar experiences where the end users can still enjoy a linear TV experience with a channel lineup and a grid guide, but that is enhanced with the OTT and IP content.
Okay, so there are a few other questions, but they're very specific and might require a private discussion. I will have to thank you, everyone. Thank you, Marco, for the insightful discussion. So if you still have questions on the presentation or on the solutions, don't hesitate to reach out to us after the session. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice day. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.